My wife and I are visiting my parents where I grew up in Alabama. Now there's not a lot of conventional snorkeling options nearby, but I thought to myself, why not try snorkeling in my childhood creek and see how it's different in the daytime versus nighttime? So that's what we're gonna do. This is 13-year-old me, the little Joseph who grew up playing in the creek we're about to snorkel in. Of course, if you're watching this, I made this video for you, but I also made it for this guy. You may be wondering why I have my longboard with me. I have to go uphill to get to the creek and then hop on the longboard and ride home. So it's kind of the most efficient way, especially since I'm gonna be going back and forth a little bit. Also, it's kind of always cool to have a self-powered little adventure. So there's that too. Gonna stash this right here behind this tree. That will come in handy later. Bit of tall grass to get through. I don't think anyone's been this way in a hot minute. Even though the path was way overgrown, I still knew it like the back of my hand, and it wasn't long before I popped out onto the pebbly shore, and the rippling music of flowing water filled my ears. This is my childhood creek. See this plant right here? I used to hate this plant. It's poison ivy. I'm super allergic to it. I've gotten it so bad that my whole arm basically turned into bubbles. I had to get steroid shots to get rid of it. But as time has gone on, I've kind of come to appreciate this plant. It might suck for me because I am super allergic to it, but I kind of like to think of it now as like a protector of the forest. In a way, it kind of makes some of these areas more inaccessible, which just kind of got to roll with it if you want to get there. But anyway, that's my thoughts on poison ivy. I set off knee deep in the water looking for a good snorkeling spot. Oh yeah, there's one thing I forgot to mention about the creek. It's filled with cottonmouths, or water moccasins, or whatever you want to call them. There goes, it's happening. That's what I'm talking about. So it's a juvenile cottonmouth just going right across there. You can see they like to kind of keep their head really high up out of the water. So naturally, it was as good a time as any to get snorkeling. As you can see, the visibility is not stellar, but you don't need coral reef level visibility to see cool things. Even just walking around, I can still see like a few species of fish, and I mean, there's about 3 feet of visibility, and that's enough to work with. I'm gonna get suited up, and I'll see you underwater. So today I've only got the wetsuit top because the creek's not that cold, and I don't really want to walk upstream with my weight belt on. Still kind of cold though. I do realize this looks goofy, but fish don't care. As soon as my head went below the surface, I realized we were not working with prime visibility here. There was a lot of silt stirred up in this particular pool, and while I could see a little ways, it was certainly not easy. I snorkeled back and forth for a little bit, but I wasn't seeing much of anything. Even the rocks in the bottom of the creek were kind of hard to see. While looking back at my footage later, I did, however, notice this tiny little bivalve in the shot. It's some kind of mussel. I've got no idea what species, but that's about all I saw here. Okay, fine. So sometimes you need a little bit more visibility than that, ideally. But I mean, I can still see stuff through the water. But I know this creek gets a little clearer in some other spots, so I'm gonna try and head there now. This spot was nice because it's a little deeper, but gonna keep heading upstream. Gets a little clearer that direction anyway, so see what we can find. But I'm not giving up yet. I think I may have found part of the culprit of this unclear water. There's a tributary here that doesn't come from a super clear water source, and it's flowing in, kind of dropping the visibility. Sometimes when you're snorkeling in environments that are not, traditional snorkeling areas, you really got to work to find the optimal conditions, and especially in a stream environment. Sometimes, there's really diverse areas along the stream, and if there's really bad erosion in one area, that's not going to be great. But other areas that have a strong riparian zone and decent substrate can be pretty good. So it just takes a little bit of work finding the best spot. So we're keep at it and see what we can do. There's a cottonmouth in this snag right here. I don't know if you can see him. Just coiled up right there. That's pretty sweet. I love those guys. Right in there. People always say cottonmouths are aggressive, but I've never experienced that. I grew up walking down this creek and I'd see cottonmouths all the time, and they always left me alone if I left them alone. They're just out here catching some sunshine and aura farming. So what's wrong with that? Aura? I don't know. It would be a sweet video just trying to film cottonmouths underwater. But I may have to say that for a later date. Cottonmouth is right under there. Sounds like a pretty fun challenge. I know it's talking big about self-powered adventures, which are awesome, but man, it's also kind of a lot of work. Dude, there's a soft-shell turtle right there. This is gonna be a challenge, but I gotta see if I can get in with him. The water was crazy murky in this area of the creek, so I was pretty much flying blind underwater. Soft-shell turtles can swim incredibly fast, so I knew I didn't have much time before he skedaddled. As I made my way through the aquatic clouds, this bizarre creature slowly came into view. I've only ever seen one spiny softshell turtle in this creek before, and it was many years ago. There's a chance this is the same turtle, but there's no way to be absolutely sure. This fellow was pretty big, with his pancake-like shell looking to be about 1.5 feet long. These turtles are expert diggers and can disappear into the muddy bottom of a creek or river in an instant. They forage during the day for fish, insects, crayfish, and anything else they can find. It wasn't long before he continued on his way down the creek. That may have been totally out of focus, probably was totally out of focus, and not up to my normal standards, but I mean, at the same time, that's also some of the coolest footage I've ever gotten. If 13-year-old Joseph knew that I was snorkeling in this creek and filming huge spiny softshell turtles, he'd be so proud of me right now. So that's crazy cool. That's awesome. All right, oh my gosh. But anyways, we're gonna keep going. As I once again stuck my head beneath the very shallow waters, I quickly saw that I had finally arrived at a clear section of the creek. The visibility was honestly better than I was expecting, and I was eager to explore around and see what I could find. Considering how small the creek was, I knew I'd need to look closely for any signs of life. A weird shape caught my eye beneath this leaf, so I carefully reached out and pulled it back. You might think I just did a grand reveal of absolutely nothing, but take a closer look. This is a dragonfly larva, or nymph. I believe this is the larva of a dragon hunter dragonfly. It will be several years before this wild-looking thing emerges from the water and molts into a beautiful yellow and black dragon. Dragonfly larvae are actually indicators of decent water quality, so this is a positive sign that this creek is somewhat healthy, which I'm very glad to see. In a deeper section, I noticed a handful of shy fish huddled together beneath a log on the bottom of the creek. It was a little dark in this spot, so I had to use my dive lights to see them. As the light washed over them, it revealed a stunning display of iridescent green and blue stripes. These are male Gulf long-ear sunfish. It's breeding season, so they're busy defending and attacking each other's nests, although it seems they're taking a break for the moment. But it's always neat to see a flash of color like this in a humble creek. Not much farther on, I noticed a little bit of movement as a tiny fish darted beneath a leaf. Once again, I carefully pulled it back to reveal none other than the unfortunately named hogsucker. I encounter these guys pretty frequently in stream and river environments in the southeast US, but they're always fun to see. He paused just long enough for me to get a good shot and then blasted off to another part of the creek. So little cottonmouth, perfectly coiled. I'm not going to get any closer, but I think I can get this shot with the camera. Hopefully it goes into the water, not out from it. I'm going to hold it by the lights, so out of the strike zone, and we will see. I have no idea how this is going to go. I bet that footage is horrible, but I got it. That's awesome. Woohoo! I'm gonna watch it right now. Also, you could totally see that snake wanted nothing to do with me. Yeah, oh man. Oh, that's so cool. Let's go. Man, I wish I had been snorkeling in my childhood creek when I was actually still a child, but hey, never too late. Gonna pack up and head back up to the longboard. Well, so I'm definitely a poser. I don't really know how to longboard, but I can at least bomb a very mild hill. If I fall, I'm gonna break a lot of stuff. Not an option. Gotta lock in. Snorkeling during the day turned out to be super productive, but I'm also curious what it's like snorkeling in the creek at night. So even though I'm super tired and it's late, we're still going snorkeling. I do still have the longboard with me, but again, it's an uphill walk to the creek initially. So it's really mostly just useful on the ride back, but that ride back is so nice. So definitely worth it, but I gotta walk for now. The longboard is securely stashed away at this super safe pine tree. I'm only just a little bit worried about some punk rock skater raccoons stealing it, but other than that, it should be okay. Can't see it, but I'm absolutely covered with spider webs right now. You see this? That was a close one. All right, so it is nighttime, so the light's penetrating a little bit better, but I'd say the visibility is improving. It's groggy fresh out here. That's a good thing. Well, this is right where I saw that cottonmouth earlier today. Just sitting right here. I don't see him right now, but I'm sure he didn't go too far. Quick fun little fact about cottonmouths. They only orifarm during the day, not at night. Well, he's not basking, but I guess he is orifarming. Oh, that's so cool. I love how they swim across the top of the water. Well, I'm gonna keep my eye on him, but I'm gonna get my gear prepped and we'll see if we can get any more underwater shots. Who knows? Hope you guys would know that it's really rare to get underwater footage of a cottonmouth, especially on a camera like this. Let's go see if that cottonmouth is down for round 2. Not gonna push it too much because I think it's the same one as earlier, and he's already been through a little bit. So, but we'll give it a whirl, see what happens. So there he is. There's not really a super safe way for me to get to him because of the way he's protected himself with that tree. So may just leave him be. Out on the prowl, looking for some midnight snacks. But then, the cottonmouth dove beneath the surface and coiled up on the bottom of the creek, just on the other side of this fallen tree branch. It suddenly became the perfect opportunity. So holding my camera by the extended strobe arms, I carefully got it into position in front of the snake. Growing up in the southeast US, I've been around a lot of people who hate snakes, and cottonmouths were usually the most hated of all. But I never really understood why. Snake bites are incredibly rare in the US, and if safety is a major concern, then why do we have no problem driving cars on the interstate? Sometimes, we have a choice between fear and wonder, and as I lay there in the creek beside this venomous snake, I felt it as my own fears were dissipated by the beauty of this small and powerful creature as it watched me, nervously, but still peaceful. I've spent a lot of time with the cottonmouths in this creek over the years, but this is a moment I won't forget. In my book, in order to say you snorkel with something, you just have to see it underwater. And cottonmouth is right under there. I just stuck my head under and I saw it underwater. And snorkeling with a cottonmouth was a huge bucket list item of mine. And to be able to do it safely in my childhood creek, so cool, man. So I just snorkeled with the cottonmouth. There he is, right there. Oh, they're so cool. All right, time to leave him be. I've grown up walking down this creek as a kid, and I'd see tons of cottonmouths, and everyone around me hated them, except for me. And I just come and sit down here and just watch them. And to be able to have this experience and get a glimpse of one underwater, calm and peaceful in its natural habitat is just so special. They're such misunderstood creatures and, you know, are really important predators that play a really important role in this ecosystem. And I know I've had a lot of really cool wildlife experiences, and this is probably not one that would stand out to a lot of people as something that they'd want to have, but this is near peak for me. Oh, what a cool animal. Pit vipers are so sweet. They're awesome. Man, cool. But now it was high time to get to some more active creek snorkeling. I grabbed my camera and headed upstream to give the cottonmouth some well-deserved space. I found a decent-looking section of creek and laid back down to get to work. As my dive lights broke the surface of the water, the creek lit up like a light bulb. There was enough visibility to work with, but the suspended silt made everything all glowy and hazy. Once again, the first creature I spotted was some kind of mollusk. This time, instead of a mussel, it was a tiny snail with a conical shell. Even though I've been to this creek a million times, being in the water in the dark was still pretty eerie. The night sounds of the woods and the towering trees felt pretty ominous as I explored along. It's amazing how even a familiar place can feel scary in the dark. After a little bit of searching, I finally came across some fish. There were quite a few sleepy sunfish resting on the creek bed out in the open. As long as I didn't get too close, they pretty much ignored me and were pretty keen to keep resting. I also saw what looked like a young male Gulf long-ear guarding a tiny nest. Adding to the list of sleepy fish citizens of the creek, I spotted this young bass bedded down on a comfy-looking sandy section. I then moved on to a faster flowing section of the creek, where the water tumbled over a bed of rock and gravel. This area was also much clearer. Despite the quick current, there were still sleepy fish to be found, and it wasn't long before my dive lights illuminated several silvery minnows. These are blacktail shiners. When breeding, adults have a very defined black spot on their tail. These fish didn't seem to be in the middle of it, however, as I could barely make out the spot on their tail. But it's still neat to see the diversity of fish species even in this tiny section of the creek. And of course, it wouldn't be a complete trip to a childhood creek without stumbling across the epitome of freshwater nostalgia, the crayfish. The crayfish I saw were blue and white with vibrant orange highlights. I was pretty amazed by how colorful they were. Now, I have to confess, my crayfish identification skills are severely lacking. Remember, I'm a crocodilian biologist, so there's a lot of animals besides alligators and crocodiles that I have yet to learn. I think this is in the genus Cambarus, but that's about as much as I got. I spent quite a bit of time watching them clamber up and over the rocks on the bottom of the creek as they foraged in the dark. Honestly, I think it's pretty easy to see how these weird little crustaceans continue to capture the imagination of kids exploring creeks. But this kid has been exploring the creek for most of the day and night and was exhausted, so grabbing the remainder of my gear, I headed upstream. I was walking back down the creek and saw a classic glimmer of scales. And oh my gosh, look at this. It might look confusing, but that is a eastern king snake. Got a death grip on, oh, it's a water snake. You can see it. Its head right there. But man, king snake's woolly venomous snakes. This is just a water snake, which is non-venomous, but that is gnarly. Not something you see every day, even though they do eat lots of snakes, but it's like the water snake is already met its end. Man, what a wild night in the creek. Holy cow. Oh yeah, right where I left it. Well, that was a good night. Definitely worth losing some sleep over, for sure. The next morning, I decided to head back to the creek one last time. I know I was incredibly privileged to grow up with this place not far from my home. But whether a tiny creek, a remote forest, or a city park, that initial moment of wide-eyed wonder at the natural world is something all of us humans find a way to experience as kids. But when was the last time you visited your childhood creek? What is it like now? In 10 years, I don't know if this place will still be here, at least not like this. Already I can see signs of impacts in the creek. The encroaching developments, the erosion eating away at the banks and roots, the trash that washes downstream. I thought that the wild places we explored as kids were supposed to last forever. We often disregard the extent to which a place can shape and mold us, but I am who I am today, at least in part because of this little creek. And if that's lost, I lose a part of myself. We don't just need sweeping landscapes and national parks. We also need little creeks and little forests. It's often these micro-interstitial wildernesses that teach us to wonder in the first place, and we can't afford for them to disappear. You don't have to be a conservationist to stand up for the wild places you love. You just have to be human. All that to say, Never underestimate the power of a simple trip to the creek.